जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय गौरानिताय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय श्रील प्रभुपाद हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय हरे कृष्णा थैंक यू फॉर joining does anyone want to do a recap of what we did last week? Anybody? So we did verses I think 16 to 22 right last week.
Yes, Prabhuji. 16 to 22 we have done.
What was the kind of primary content of that? Or do you want to do a recap of the whole 8th chapter? Any guesses what this whole chapter is all about? Hare Krishna.
It contains
Basically,
questions by King Parikshit to Sukadeva Goswami, which he wants to know the things in detail.
Correct. So what is the importance of these questions? Meaning why these questions or especially this chapter, why should we consider this as important? Not a single answer has been given, right? Not a single.
He is giving more importance to the creation aspect and the annihilation aspect of the Lord Krishna.
Yeah. What I'm asking is, so basically, all these questions that he is asking is like a second set of questions. The first set of questions was asked by Shaunak Rishi in the first and second chapter. Then the first set of questions, meaning first set of questions by King Maharaj Parikshit was asked at the start of the second canto when he met Shukadeva Goswami. Correct? And then all those answers were given. Now King Parikshit Maharaj realizes that there is much more knowledge that is available and required as well. And that's why he is asking these, kind of a whole chapter as a second set of questions. Now, these questions form, if you directly or indirectly, the basis of the complete rest of the Bhagavatam. But it is not that these are the only questions. there are many offshoot of these questions which Maharaj Parikshit asks in every canto and in majority of the chapters. But this is basically the fundamental of the other offshoot also of these questions. So here in this particular chapter, we can say there are three sections of this particular chapter. In the first section, Maharaj Parikshit is thanking Shukadev Goswami for having explained all that he has until the previous chapter. Okay. And he prepares a ground for asking the new questions. So for that, he is appreciating the Lord. He is appreciating Shukadev Goswami himself. He appreciates the other devotees also. He appreciates all that Shukadev Goswami has spoken, which we call as Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. Then he starts asking the questions from, I think, verse number 7, I think. Yeah, correct. And then that set of questions go on until verse number 23 or 24. Yeah, 23. Yeah, until this particular verse. And from verse number 24 till 29, it is a kind of a closing section where he thanks Shukadev Goswami in advance for having answered all of his questions. And he also talks about the eligibility of person who can answer this question and why only Shukadev Goswami is eligible to answer these questions. He talks about that as well. Okay. And during these questions, whatever he is asking, he has touched upon various topics: the objective of life, the Lord, the living entity, the creation, destruction, annihilation, the maintenance, the devotees, the actions, the karma, the society, various topics he has talked about. Okay. Now we have come to this last class of the 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto. Then in the next week, we will start 9th chapter, in which from verses 33 onwards, 33, 34, 35, 36, we will come across Chatushloki Srimad Bhagavatam. The way we have Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, we will have Chatushloki Bhagavatam also in that. That is a super philosophy oriented chapter. So you need to spend kind of, full concentration to understand these topics. So we can start from verse 23 today. Is there any question so far? No? Okay, so let's read the verse. Yathatmatantro Bhagavan विक्रीडत्यात्ममायया विसृज्य वा यथा मायां उदास्ते साक्षिवद्विभुः. Translation.
The independent personality of the Godhead enjoys his pastimes by his internal potency, and at the time of annihilation gives them up to the external potency, and he remains a witness to it all. Lord Krishna, being the supreme personality of the Godhead and fountainhead of all other incarnations, is the only independent person. He enjoys his pastimes by creation as he desires and gives them up to the external energy at the time of annihilation. By his internal potency only, he kills the demon Putna, even though enjoying his pastimes in the lap of his mother Yashoda. And when he desires to leave this world, he creates the pastimes of killing his own family members, Yadukul, and remains unaffected by such annihilation. He is the witness of everything that is happening, and yet he has nothing to do with anything. He is independent in every respect. Maharaj Parikshit desired to know more perfectly, for a pure devotee ought to know well. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, one of the the word Bhagavan. Does anyone know what does Bhagavan mean?
The person who possesses 6 opulences.
Correct. What are those 6 opulences? Fame.
That is wealth,
wealth, knowledge,
strength,
strength,
knowledge,
power,
renunciation.
and the final one is renunciation, right? So renunciation is what? Meaning what does it exactly mean?
No such type of love ke if suppose somebody goes away, you will start feeling sorry for that for a long time.
So does it, okay, so if he is the master of renunciation, he possesses full renunciation, does it mean that he is emotionless? So for example, let's say I have developed a, let's say, good quality of renunciation to a certain extent. Does it mean I don't have emotions? Does it mean that if my child is hurt, I will not feel anything for him? So, so,
No, Prabhupada.
so these are very, very fundamental points. Yeah. This one has to be absolutely clear in this one. Only after which the distinguishing factors between the material world and spiritual world can be understood properly. So what does it mean? Being a renunciant, what does it mean in case of Krishna? No, कोई नहीं, राकेश प्रभु आप
No,
शांत.
Prabhupada. I don't think he is emotionless. He has emotions.
Correct.
But he knows all good and bad for us. So, but from our perspective, we may not be able to see that.
Okay, so emotions are there. It's not that he does not have emotions, but he uses his emotions in the right place. Our emotions are directed towards a wrong object. We have emotions to the body. We have emotion towards matter, but he has emotions towards the spirit. So this point needs to be understood very clearly. Okay, let's say, for example, there is a child, okay, who a child with a body, and then there is another toy, a kind of a doll also. Okay, there is a girl child and there is a doll. So if the doll is thrown from one place to another, will you cry, saying that the doll has got hurt, and will you cry? Forget the child. The child doesn't know the difference between a real person and a doll. That she doesn't know. But you, as an adult, mature adult, would you cry that the doll has got hurt and let me cry about it? No, you will not. Because you very well know that it is a doll, it is not a real person. So there is no question of getting hurt at all altogether. Now, because that is known to you, you know that your emotions should not be directed towards the doll. But yes, because the child is real, that's why you have your emotions directed towards the child. So if the child gets hurt, you will feel bad. You may feel sorry. You may even cry also. Correct? So this concept is understood, right? Now, when we as a soul are in a certain body, the Lord very well understands that we are the soul, we are actually not the body. So the Lord, he has emotions towards the soul, but not towards the body. Because of which, when the annihilation needs to be done, so there are 2 or 3 primary components in the whole of annihilation. Okay, one is the whole material world, matter, which is not life. That matter is there, which is basically the earth, water, fire, buildings, and minerals, and everything. Yeah, everything within the material world. Then we have the living entities along with their body. So the body is also a component of matter only. And then you have living entities. So the living entities, the Lord very well knows, can never get destroyed, which he has mentioned in many, many different perspectives in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So because matter can do no harm to the living entities, and the living entities are always accompanied by a Paramatma, so that's why he knows very well that they are safe completely. So that's why he does not have emotions towards the matter, which includes the body of a living entity. So even if the body is destroyed, the Lord very well knows that the Atma within the body is intact and no harm can happen to it. So that's why the Lord is able to direct his emotions away from the matter, from the body of the individual, but he has proper emotions towards the soul. So that's why when we surrender to the Lord, okay, asking for forgiveness, asking for mercy, and we wholeheartedly with the with complete devotion, when we surrender to the Lord forgives us, which is only because he has emotions. Whatever mistake we make, he will still forgive us only because he has emotions. If he were emotionless, if he were to work like a mechanical instrument wherein you input something and you process it and you will get the output. If depending on the input, the output is decided, then it will always mean that irrespective of whatever we do and how much ever forgiveness we ask for, we will never be forgiven. Why? Because there are no emotions here. Input processing with set certain defined rules and the same output. So that will be the case. But because the Lord has emotions and he has it only towards the soul, not towards the body and the matter, that's why he is directed very well with the emotions. And despite that, he is a perfect in renunciation. Now, because this concept actually is so important to understand that हम लोग जब बोलते हैं ना कि so many things have happened in my life, I lost my family, I lost my wealth, I lost my bangla, my gadi, my job, and this one, and despite that the Lord has nothing to do with it. Lord is not does not care at all about me. मेरा इतना नुकसान हो गया, मेरा ये प्रॉब्लम वो प्रॉब्लम हो गया, but still Lord, the God does not exist, God does not care for me. All these nonsense thoughts that they come are only because we have misplaced our understanding. We think that the Lord should be concerned about our body, but the Lord is actually concerned about our soul. Right? That's why when now from this perspective, if we try to understand this verse, we will know that when he creates the whole material world, including our body, okay, his energies are actually getting everything created. It is like, I write a software and that software is doing all the work. I am just observing whether the software is working correctly or not. That's all. Software is doing every work, and I do not need to intervene at all. The software is perfectly 100% perfectly written. It knows exactly what to do in which situation, and it does the work perfectly well. That's why I, as the writer of the software, I'm just observing. That's all. So the same thing, the energies of the Lord, they create, they maintain, they destroy. And the Lord is just a witness to it. So now from this knowledge perspective, we can understand that he creates this for his pastimes using his internal potency. And because he does not have any attachment to his creation, he is able to annihilate them. And while doing that, he just remains a witness to all that is getting destroyed. So Prabhupada writes two different examples also. When he is in the lap of Mother Yashoda, he is still Bhagwan. When he kills the demon Putana, he is still Bhagwan. But he does that for enjoyment of his pastimes and establishing relationship with the devotee. Okay, so Putana's stuff you may all know, right? She was the sister of Bali Maharaj. Does everyone know that? आज क्या
No,
आज सब लोग
Prabhuji.
silent है आज.
Last time they told, yeah, correct.
हाँ.
Yes, usually I know this.
हाँ, correct. So because Vaman Dev was so very nice, good looking, she developed a desire to feed him, meaning her breast milk. And the moment he took that gigantic form, okay, then she developed a hatred, a dislike towards him. and in that she wanted to give him poison. So both of her wishes, the Lord made it come true, and she was still liberated despite her such a wish also. So he is the same Bhagwan. He is not attached just because so and so person has developed a bad desire for me. Let me push him into hell perpetually. No, he is not that. He is not attached to that desire or the reason for the desire. He only looks at the positive. He looks at, okay, this person somehow wants to connect to me. Maybe I may it be as a mother or may it be as a poison giver. No problem, but at least she wants to connect with me. Let me help her uplift herself and improve her spiritual journey. So even Putana with that mindset was given the respect of a mother. Even in fact, so a few other scriptures they mention that Putana today also Krishna regards her as her mother, as his mother. So he is the same person in the lap of Mother Yashoda, and he is the same person when he kills Deman Putana also. Because we look at both of them as bodies. The Lord looks at them as souls. That's why he looks at them as the proper relationship, not just the bodily aspect of it. Now, another perspective is the independence. The Lord is the creator of anything and everything. So when we say na, A created B, B created C, C created D. So now in this scenario, we know D is dependent on C to be created, C is dependent on B to be created, and B is dependent on A to be created. So it also means that A is independent, B is dependent on A, C is dependent on A and B, and D is dependent on A, B, and C. Now that level of independence, because the Lord can never get created, the Lord creates everything. That's why he is completely independent. In the first canto, first chapter, first verse, Srila Vyasdev uses a word called as Swarat, which means independent for the Lord. That Swarat means completely independent. Everyone else is dependent on him. There is nothing which is independent of him, and he is not dependent on anything. From both perspectives, he is independent. Hare Krishna. Shall we move on to the next verse? Any question?
Probably one small question.
Ah.
You mentioned as mother, Mother Yashoda and Putana. So both are, liberated soul. So Lord has the same amount of emotions for both of them, or he may have some discrimination.
See, the Lord has mentioned it in various places that he is completely neutral. It all depends on how much we call the Lord. Depending on that, the Lord will come to us and show emotions accordingly. For example, let's say uh, your son, okay, will call you 10 times in a day, and 10 times you will go to him. But the neighbor's child will probably not call you even once in a day. But does that mean that you dislike your neighbor's son? No. You have probably neutral feelings towards him. So in the case of Putana, just for the sake of discussion, actually that is not the case. But just to say, if Putana calls 3 times and Mother Yashoda calls him 100 times, he will obviously go to Mother Yashoda 100 times and 3 times to Putana. But from the Lord's perspective, if you analyze, he is neutral. Yeah, depending on how much we call and depending on how much we surrender and how much we devote ourselves to the Lord will reciprocate accordingly. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Hare Krishna. Is that
Hare
okay?
Krishna. Yes, bro. The reason I asked this question because I may not be able to do the devotional service as good as the elevated souls.
Correct.
So what will happen to me? That's what I wanted to know. That's why I asked this question.
So that's where the guru comes in picture. So
Yes,
we
Prabhuji.
we do not have the eligibility or knowledge, or from any aspect we are not in a position to surrender to the Lord or serve the Lord directly. It is impossible for us. See, even if we do deity worship at home, practically speaking, that level of deity worship standard which we are supposed to maintain, not just at a body level, but at a mental level also, we hardly have it. A person
Right.
practically thinking about Krishna all day, all night can be considered as eligible to worship Krishna, to do deity worship. Do we have that? Probably half an hour, 1 hour, we may be thinking about Krishna. That also is probably a bit on the higher side. Within that deity worship or chanting or offering times, also our mind might be flickering to 10 different things. But
Right.
despite that, we still do deity. Now, because we are connected in the parampara, the guru basically is holding on to us despite our mistakes. And because that guru is eligible to reach to Krishna, guru tags along all of the disciples and he takes them as well. So actually, if you see, we are not sufficiently eligible to go to him. But it is because we are connected. That is the reason Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, he had given an example, a very important point to be understood. So he gave an example of there is a well, and there is a lot of water in the well, and there is a person, let's say us, we are drowning in the well. Okay. There is a person who sees us drowning in the well, and there is a rope nearby. He takes that rope and he throws it in the well. And then he expects us to hold on to the rope, and then he pulls the rope outside, and along with the rope, he pulls us outside. And then we are brought onto the ground. So using this example, he said that the person who is drowning is us. The whale and the water is the material world. We are drowning in it. The person on the ground who is walking and watching us and throwing the rope is the guru. And the rope that he has thrown is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So what do we need to do? The rope is being pulled by the guru. Yeah, the rope automatically doesn't come out, or just because we have held on to the rope doesn't mean we will be able to climb on the rope and then come out. That is not possible. The guru, that person outside, is actually pulling the rope. So our duty is only one thing, that just cling on to the rope, just hold on to the rope until the guru is able to pull us out completely. Until is not the right word, but even later also we need to do. But I'm saying, at least from the sake of coming out of the material world, in this example, we need to hold on to the rope. So in our particular case, we need to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra continuously, irrespective of our situation. Rest everything, Guru and Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will take care of it.
Right, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we'll go to verse 24. Sarvam etaccha bhagavan pruchhato me anupurvashah tattvato arhasyudah hartum prapannaya mahamune. Translation.
Hare Krishna. Translation. O great sage, a representative of the Lord, kindly satisfy my inquisitiveness in all that I have inquired from you, and all that I may not have inquired from you from very beginning of my questionings. Since I am a soul surrendered unto you, please impart full knowledge in this connection. Purport. The spiritual master is always prepared to impart knowledge to the disciple, and specifically when the disciple is very inquisitive. Inquisitiveness on the part of disciple is greatly necessary for the progressive disciple. Maharaja Parikshit is a typical disciple because he is perfectly inquisitive. If one is not very inquisitive about self-realization, one need not approach spiritual master simply to make a show of discipleship. Not only is Maharaja Parikshit inquisitive concerning all he has inquired about, but he is also anxious to know about what he has not been able to inquire. Factually, it is not possible for the man to inquire about everything from the spiritual master. But the bona fide spiritual master is able to enlighten the disciple in every way for the disciple's benefit. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So quite a few nice learnings come out from this particular verse. The first thing is, can you draw a parallel between Maharaj Parikshit and Arjun? Some common points? Anybody?
They both completely
both were
surrendered.
inquisitive.
Yes, completely surrendered, right? So in
Yeah.
which verse does Arjun surrender to Krishna?
Second chapter, 7th or 8th or something like that, when he
Yes,
says,
exactly. Yeah. So second chapter, 7th verse, Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. I as a disciple surrender unto you. Right? And what are the qualities does he talk about? He is confused about his duty. Okay. Maharaj Parikshit wasn't confused. Maharaj Parikshit was inquisitive. Okay. He is asking to tell Krishna what is best for me. I am your disciple, a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Here also, Maharaj Parikshit, in a similar manner, he is saying, I am a soul surrendered unto you. Please impart full knowledge in this connection. The mood of both of them is common. That's surrender. The background or the context could be different. Obviously, one is on the battlefield, not realizing what to do. One is here waiting for the death. In few more days, he is going to die. In both the cases, there is certain lack of awareness, lack of knowledge, which both of them want to satisfy. But there are these three qualities which Arjun displays here: the inquisitiveness, okay, the admission of the problematic situation, and the surrender. So whenever we go to somebody, okay, we want some advice. Why do we go to them? Because we know that this current particular situation that we are in a difficult situation. So admission of the situation and our lack of control over it. Okay. Second season is we do not have knowledge to tackle that situation. And the third is the quality of surrender. If I approach, let's say, I'm in a working in a project, I'm managing a project in which there are a lot of difficulties and I'm unable to address them. Whom will I go to? My vice president. Correct? Now, my vice president, what I will tell them, if I go with a mood, ha, what do you know? I know everything. Then he will tell me, so why have you come here then? Then resolve the problem by yourself. So because I have admitted that the current situation is a problem situation and my level of knowledge is insufficient, that's why I have come to you to ask for guidance. I assure you that I will follow your guidance. This is the mood when this should be the mood when we approach somebody for guidance, which is precisely what Arjun and Parishit Maharaj both have displayed it. Both have displayed an inquisitiveness. Both have mentioned that we are eager to know. Arjun mentioned that I am incapable to know. Parikshit Maharaj says I am eager to know. Both are surrendering. So these are the qualities by which we should approach anybody, not just spiritual, but even in a material situation also. Right? Sometimes people themselves come to us without we asking for knowledge. And then there is a kind of, a type of people, certain people think, अरे यार, I know everything. कोई मुझे बताने की जरूरत नहीं है. I know what to do. But that mood is also incorrect. So here Parikshit Maharaj is displaying that mood here. Now, another point, that we should understand, that is our knowledge is limited, right? So, so there is this saying which says, one who knows everything and one who knows nothing asks no questions, and which is so right. If I know 100% complete Bhagavad Gita, I do not need to ask any question to anybody. Or if I know zero about Bhagavad Gita, again, I will not ask any question because I do not even know what question to ask. Somebody who knows partial is the person who asks questions. So now we ask questions only on an area which we have partial knowledge about. If we do not have any knowledge about a certain situation or a certain topic or a subject, we will not ask any question about it. So Parikshit Maharaj is such an elevated devotee that he acknowledges that his knowledge is limited. He may not know every different topic related to Adhyatma, related to spiritual progress, related to Krishna. So he acknowledges that he may not have asked questions on each and every topic. So this is the right approach to go to Guru to say that, okay, I have these queries, I'm asking you, but please guide me on anything that I do not know also, and I may not have asked you about. So this is such a wonderful mood that Parikshit Maharaj is displaying. Yeah. And this inquisitiveness and this kind of questioning is a good quality of disciple. So sometimes people feel a bit shy and they think that if I ask this question, people will laugh at me, or the person who is about to answer, he may say, what a nonsense question. He may kind of insult me or something like that. Would it be right to ask this question and all? These kind of thoughts come to the mind, and actually they are not appropriate. Okay. We need to have full confidence that when we ask the question, because it is related to Krishna, that question is perfect. And there is no harm in asking any perfect question. Yeah, obviously, if you are sitting in a Bhagavad Gita class, and if you ask some question about cricket or movie stars or something else, or politics and all, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't go well with the topic that is being spoken about. But if some spiritual topic is being talked about, and if you have a question about Krishna in directly or indirectly related to Krishna, absolutely it's the perfect question, a right question. And that inquisitiveness should be there with every disciple. It should be his quality. It also shows that the disciple doesn't think of himself as somebody who knows everything. इसके लिए मैं क्यों सवाल पूछूं? I know everything about Bhagavad Gita. I know everything about Bhagavatam. So that also is an incorrect mentality, incorrect approach to being inquisitive. Hare Krishna. And spiritual master is like a doctor. You cannot go to a doctor and say that I will not tell you what is happening to me. If you have the capability, you diagnose it and you cure me. It doesn't work that way. One has to have an open heart, open mind relationship with the spiritual master. We need to tell him everything about us, and he can give us the best solution. It's not that if he doesn't give, Krishna will not be able to give the solution, but Krishna is the Guru, is the medium via which Krishna communicates. So that's why we need to be completely transparent to the Guru. Hare Krishna. We'll go to the next verse. Anybody, any question? Nahi? Okay.
No, Guruji.
Atra pramanam hi bhavan parameshthi yatatmabhuhu apare chanutishtanti purvesham purvajaikrutam. This atmabhu is an important word in this verse. Yes, sir.
Translation. Okay, translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. O great sage, you are as good as Brahma, the original living being. Others follow custom only, as followed by the previous philosophical speculators. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. It may be argued that Sukadeva Goswami is not the only authority of perfect knowledge in transcendence in transcendence because there are many other sages and their followers. Contemporary to Vyasadeva, or even prior to him, there were many other great sages, such as Gautam, Kanda, Jimini, Kapila, and Astva,
Ashtavakra.
Astavakra, and all of them have presented a philosophical path by themselves. Patanjali is also one of them, and all these six great rishis have their own way of thinking, exactly like the modern philosophers and mental speculators. The difference between the six philosophical paths put forward by the renowned sages above mentioned and that of Sukadev Goswami, as presented in the Srimad Bhagavatam, is that all the six sages mentioned about speak the facts according to their own thinking, but Sukadev Goswami presents the knowledge which comes down directly from Brahmaji, who is known as Atma Bahu, or born of and educated by the Almighty Personality of Godhead. Vedic transcendental knowledge descends directly from the Personality of Godhead. By his mercy, Brahma, the first living being in the universe, was enlightened, and from Brahmaji, Narada was enlightened, and from Narada, Vyasa was enlightened. Sukadev Goswami received such transcendental knowledge directly from his father, Vyasadeva. Thus, the knowledge being received from the chain of disciple succession is perfect. One cannot be a spiritual master in perfection unless and until one has received the same by disciplic succession. That is the secret of receiving transcendental knowledge. The six great sages mentioned above may be great thinkers, but their knowledge by mental speculation is not perfect. However, perfect and empiric philosopher may be in presenting a philosophical thesis. Such knowledge is never perfect because it is produced by an imperfect mind. Such great sages also have their disciplinic succession, but they are not authorized because such knowledge does not come directly from the independent supreme personality of Godhead, Narayana. No one can be independent except Narayana. Therefore, no one's knowledge can be perfect, for everyone's knowledge is dependent on the flickering mind. Mind is material, and thus knowledge presented by material speculators is never transcendental and can never become perfect. Mundane philosophers, being imperfect in themselves, disagree with other philosophers because a mundane philosopher is not a philosopher at all unless he presents his own theory. Intelligent persons like Maharaj Parikshit do not recognize such mental speculators, however great they may be, but hear from the authorities like Sukadev Goswami, who is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the Parampara system, as is specially stressed in the Bhagavad Gita. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Can you look at the beauty of the purport that Prabhupada writes? It is just amazing. In one purport, two paragraphs, he mentions absolutely everything. Everything is there. Who should take knowledge from? Who is eligible? Why not to take from others? What is the problem? Amazingly written, just amazing. Yeah. So let us go through it. Now, to understand this particular stuff, I will give an example. I have spoken about this previously also, but since the context is right, I will talk about it again. Yeah. Let's say one particular day morning, many, especially Sushil Prabhu, Rakesh Prabhu would definitely know this. I have spoken to them as well before. Let's say one particular day, your mother, let's say you are a great scientist working in, let's say, ISRO. You are the head of the department, one of the world's most renowned scientists, or not ISRO, in some company, okay, whatever it is. One day, your mother wakes up and she cooks 25 different food items for you. And you come and she wakes you up. You come, take a bath, and you come and sit on the dining table. She serves all the 25 food items to you. And being a scientist, you are able to analyze absolutely each and every food item. You are able to tell her how much and which ingredient has been used, how much quantity it has been used, how has it been mixed, what is the complete recipe, everything you are able to tell her. And she says, wow, son, you are so intelligent. Yeah. You know everything that I have cooked and how I have cooked it, including how much time it required, what was the temperature of heating, and everything you know. So you have dissected the whole cooking process of all of these 25 food items, documented it, published it as a book, and worldwide it is, say, available also. But one day your mother asks you, all that is fine, but do you know why did I cook all of this? At that time, your scientist's brain will not help you. Why? Because this knowledge is not deductive knowledge. What does it mean? If A has created B and B has created C, I may be able to find out, okay, C has come from B and B has come from A. But why did A create B and B create C? That B and C will not know. B will not know why A created him, and C will not know why B created C. Why did the mother cook for this son, waking up early in the morning on for all 25 food items? That the son will not know until the mother tells the son. Right? In this particular context, the mother did not tell the son, and son did not come to know at all. Only when the mother told that, son, it is on this particular day you were first conceived in my stomach, and that's why I love this day very much. And to remember this day, I have cooked all of these 25 because you are the most precious person in my life. This is what the mother tells the son. And this knowledge will not be known to the son until the mother tells the son. Precisely, this is the situation of the great thinkers and philosophers of the modern society as well as previously. Whenever the knowledge comes down from the Supreme Personality, that knowledge is considered to be perfect because the Lord, in addition to the regular knowledge, the Lord also gives various aspects of knowledge which are not possible to be thought about by oneself within himself. That is beyond the scope of the thinking of the brain, that is beyond the scope of mental speculation. It is only possible if the person from whom the knowledge has originated, if that person gives the knowledge downwards, right? So now it is not that Gautama Rishi and Kanada Rishi and Jaimini Rishi and Kapil Muni and Ashtavakra and Patanjali, they are ordinary living beings. No, definitely not. They are excellent in terms of their knowledge, but still, because this knowledge does not come from the Supreme Person, that's why this is incomplete. Okay. Now, why Shukadev Goswami's knowledge is perfect? Because he comes in the parampara. Shukadev Goswami learnt it from Vyasdev, who learnt from Narad Muni, who learnt from Brahma, who learnt it from Krishna himself. That's why this particular background is necessary to understand that whom are we learning it from? Who presented this knowledge to the person from whom we are learning? That is very important, right? To take another example, when we take an admission for a particular degree or some course in a certain institute, Do we take in any Tom, Dick and Harry institute? No. We first look for the authenticity and authorization of that particular institute. Are they authorized to provide this knowledge? If no, then there is a good possibility that the knowledge received will be inappropriate, incorrect, and incomplete. Or even if you get the knowledge, you will not get the degree which you need to get a job. So what we do is, when we want to take admission for ourselves or say our children, we first inquire about the college, their university, their status, their authenticity, whether they are authorized by the government, and then we go for that knowledge. We take admission in that college. So here the same thing is applicable. If we trace the Guru Parampara, the Guru Shishya Parampara upwards, then we will realize that some of these do not have a link with the final Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. So Ashtavakra, do you know who is this? Anybody knows?
No, Prabhuji, I don't know.
No. So what is the meaning of Ashtavakra? Does anyone know?
Ashta is 8.
Correct.
Vakra is, I
8
think,
sides.
crooked thinking or something.
Yeah, exactly. Vakra is basically bent. So Ashtavakra had bends at 8 different places in the body. Now, why did that happen? So the father of Ashtavakra was imparting some knowledge to the mother of Ashtavakra. This was when Ashtavakra was in the womb. Okay. And when Ashtavakra heard that knowledge, he realized that there are some mistakes in that. And from inside, he spoke and he corrected his father. So the father was unhappy with the attitude displayed by this person, Ashtavakra, and he cursed him that you will have bends at 8 different places in the body. So we also bend, right? We bend it at the neck level. We bend it in at the waist level. We bend it in the at the knee level also. But he had additional bends in the body. So okay, so Ashtavakra has a relationship with Mahabharata also. So one day, the various gopis of Vrindavan, they were I just forgot one particular link over there. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just forgot one link over there. There were certain girls who laughed at Ashtavakra by looking at his bent body at different places. And when he saw that, he cursed them something. Yes, I got it. Yes, he cursed them that they will be held as captives by a demon, right? Correct. Yes. So then they realized what mistake they have made, and they asked for forgiveness for him. So he says that fine, the demon will make you captive, but Krishna will come and protect you. Can you guess who were these girls?
16,100 queens of Krishna.
Exactly. Very nice, Mataji. So all of these were held captive by Narkasur. And then later, Krishna killed Narkasur and he released all of these, and Krishna married all of them. So Ashtavakra has a relationship there here as well. Okay. Now, the one point Prabhupada writes in this purport is, when it comes to mundane philosophy, okay, why, meaning, even if the philosophy is related to spiritual progress, still Prabhupada calls it as mundane because it doesn't directly have the Achyuta Katha, which is the meaning the pastimes about the Lord Krishna. So when that is missing and direct relationship with the Lord is missing, Prabhupada calls everything as mundane. So in this category, Patanjali also comes. So Patanjali's system of Ashtanga Yoga. Yeah, if you have learnt the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Ashtanga Yoga has been presented by Krishna from the 10th verse of the 6th chapter until the 32nd verse almost 23 verses Krishna speaks about all of this Dhyan Yoga, which is named as the chapter. And Krishna speaks at a summary level. The details have been spoken by Patanjali differently. But all of this, Arjun says, is not practical, is not acceptable. And then Krishna goes on to speak to Bhakti Yoga. So there also we can understand that Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga can take us to a certain level. It cannot take us to the highest level. Why? Because there is a bridge, there is a gap here. And that gap is, it does not have a link to Krishna directly. Okay. And that is why in the 8th chapter, 13th verse, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ma Manusmara, Om Ityekaksharam Brahma Vyaharan Mam Anusmaran. Okay, it's a very important verse. Okay, let's read that. Om Ityekaksharam Brahma Vyaharan Mam Anusmara Yah Prayati Tyajan Deham Sayati Paramam Gatim. So this Om Ityekaksharam Brahma Vyaharan Mam Anusmaran Yah Prayati Tyajan Deham Sayati Paramam Gatim. The translation. Would anyone like to read the translation?
Translation. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what he is talking about is, in this particular chapter, how can one remember Krishna at the time of death and basically be able to come to him? So there are various types of yogis. So one yogi is which Krishna talked about in the 6th chapter, and that particular yogi reaches up to the level of Paramatma. So how can that yogi, the Paramatma level yogi, reach to the Bhagwan level? That Krishna talks about in this chapter. He says, you may have situated yourself in Dhyana Yoga, in Ashtanga Yoga practice. You may have chanted the syllable Om also. Okay. But that is not sufficient. If you are able to think of me, the Supreme Person, and then quit your body, then you will reach the spiritual planets. Which means not thinking about Krishna, but only chanting Om and only doing Ashtanga Yoga is not sufficient for one to reach to the spiritual planets. This is the purport. So what Prabhupada is highlighting here is, see, because these things are very internal. Until you do a in-depth study of each and every word of Bhagavad Gita and each and every word of Bhagavatam, it is possible one may not understand the reason why Prabhupada is writing in such a strong manner. A person who has taken superficial level knowledge, that too not from the Shastra but from the society, may think कि how is it, प्रभुपाद क्या अपने आप को बड़ा आदमी समझता है? यह गौतम, कनाडा, जैमिनी, कपिला, अष्टवक्र, पतंजलि जैसे ऋषियों पे he is doing टिप्पणी, that to negative manner. How is it possible? This is not right. This is not a good attitude. Somebody may say that. But until they understand what does their philosophy, to which level the philosophy takes us to, and to which level are we supposed to go, and how do we bridge the gap, until one understands that, he will not understand the reason behind Prabhupada's writing like this one. So that's why Prabhupada is saying that these great sages, they may be great thinkers, no doubt about it, but their knowledge is based on some level of mental speculation. It is not a perfect knowledge. Your knowledge, you may have done 100% R&D in your thesis and prepared that knowledge, but still this knowledge does not come from Narayan, Krishna. And because that is not there, there will be a link which will still be missing. Narayan is beyond any kind of material aspect. So your knowledge, because you have a material mind and your speculation, mental speculation is a product of your material mind, you cannot reach to the transcendent level where Narayan is. And because of that one, your knowledge will always be incomplete. This another point he also mentions, that because mundane philosophers cannot be called as philosopher until they present their own philosophy. That's why to carve out a name for oneself, you have to find out a flaw in previous philosophers and present your own philosophy. But a devotee doesn't need to do that, because he is not doing it for any material benefit. He's doing it only for the pleasure of Krishna. He's just passing the message of Krishna. That's why parampara system gets stressed more and more by Prabhupada regularly. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, why Kapil is included? It is that Devuti Kapil?
Yes, it is the same, but the point is, although he is Vishnu, he has presented the knowledge from the aspect of analysis of the material world. That's why. So that knowledge which he has presented to Devahuti, which is on the basis of devotional service, does not come under the purview of this purport. Hare Krishna. So let's look at the next verse. Name savaha parayanti brahman anashanadami pibato achyuta piyusham tadvakyabdhi vinisrutam. Translation? Anybody?
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. O learned Brahmana, because of my drinking the nectar of the message of the infallible personality of Godhead, which is flowing down from the ocean of your speeches, I do not feel any sort of exhaustion due to my fasting. The disciplic succession from Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, and Sukadeva Goswami is particularly different from others. The disciplic succession from the other sages are simply a waste of time, being devoid of Achyuta Katha or the message of the infallible Lord. The mental speculators can present their theories very nicely by reason and arguments, but such reasons and arguments are not infallible, for they are defeated by better mental speculators. Maharaja Parikshit was not interested in the dry speculation of the flickering mind, but he was interested in the topics of the Lord, because factually he felt that by hearing such a nectarian messages from the mouth of Sukadeva Goswami, he was not feeling any exhaustion, even though he was fasting because of his imminent death. One can indulge in hearing the mental speculators, but such hearing cannot endure for any length of time. One will be exhausted very soon from hearing such hackneyed, hackneyed ways of thinking, and no one is the no one in the world can be satisfied simply by hearing such useless speculations. The message of the Lord, especially from the personality like Sukadeva Goswami, can never be tiring, even though one may be exhausted from the other causes. In some editions of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the text of the last 9 of this verse reads, Anyatra Kupitad
Vijat.
Vijat, which means that the king might be overwhelmed by the thought of his imminent death by snake bite. The snake is also twice born, and its anger is compared to the cursing Brahmana boy who was without good intelligence. Maharaja Parikshit was not at all afraid of that, for he was fully encouraged by the message of the Lord. One who is fully observed in Achyuta Katha can never be afraid of anything in this world. Hare Krishna.
Jai. So now to understand, so the basic point of all of this is, firstly, we need to acknowledge that we need knowledge. To think of us as possessing anything and everything that is required in terms of knowledge is the fundamental mistake. Once we acknowledge that we need knowledge, then to be able to search for the right source of knowledge also requires some basic level understanding. But of course, it does not happen without the mercy of Krishna and Guru. That's the kind of a most important aspect. But even if you think that we do not realize the hand of Krishna and Guru in our life when it comes to searching for the source of knowledge, still the point remains is that we need to understand that the source of knowledge, identification of the source of knowledge is the most important stuff. Now, there are times when people, because they do not understand that one is a soul, one is not the body, that's why they approach these nonsense sadhus and others who have only material interest and they do not have any spiritual interest for you. That's why they approach such kind of people who give such kind of boons and knowledge and something like that. So whenever especially religious conversion happens, people are still meaning interested in improving the material way of life. Okay, so my God will give you this solution and that money and this problem will go away. But they do not talk about the real problem of life. Because one does not have this level of knowledge, one is unable to ascertain that the knowledge that I am getting or the source of knowledge, whether it is appropriate or not. Because we do not bother to find out the source of knowledge, in a high probability, we always get across a wrong source of knowledge. That means wrong information, and we will never be able to progress on the spiritual journey, the right spiritual journey. And that's what Prabhupada is writing. That's why this particular parampara is important, because you may have seen in so many different lectures that you have heard so far, okay, from anybody in ISKCON, okay, or any Shastra that ISKCON has presented, Prabhupada has never promised, nor any of the previous acharyas have promised any improvement in the material life. They never said that if you pray to Krishna, you will get $1 million lottery and your condition of material life will improve. No, nothing like that. Not even in a single lecture or a single line of any of the Shastras will you see a promise of material improvement. And precisely that is the reason why Srimad Bhagavatam is called as Amala Purana. It does not have the mala, that is dirt, of material world anywhere in the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam. And because it does not contain anything, the people who study this also do not aspire for any material benefit. Now, importance, ego satisfaction, puja labha, and there is one.
Pratishtha.
Pratishtha. So puja, labh, and pratishtha are the three reasons why somebody does a material or somebody does a spiritual activity, but with a material intent. Okay. And because a devotee, a pure devotee of the Lord, does not have any material intent, he is never concerned about puja, labh, and pratishtha. Puja is people should respect him, worship him. Labh is some material gain, and pratishtha is the importance, the status, the social status. Okay, because he is not running after these three, that's why there is no need for him to lie about something. He only acts like a postman to take information from Krishna or the Guru and pass it on to another person. Because he has nothing, no material intent to gain anything out of it. So when there is no material intent, then there is no reason why he has to give incorrect information to anybody. And that is the reason why the knowledge coming from Krishna, Brahma, Narad Muni, Vyasadeva, Shukadev and all that gets transferred subsequently to the disciples and their disciples without any adulteration. Now, what is available in this parampara but missing in the other philosophers is the Achyuta Katha. Why this Achyuta Katha is missing? Because Achyuta himself is not present in their thinking, because their thinking is at a material level. Okay, how to improve your material body and maybe reach maximum to the Brahma level. The Achyuta, Krishna aspect is missing in that knowledge, because of which this whole Katha, Achyuta Katha being missing, Krishna, Prabhupada saying it's simply a waste of time. So if you have a gun and if you want to shoot a bullet from it, the gun's capacity to shoot the bullet, the distance that the bullet will travel, will only be to the extent of the capability of the gun. But if your distance is far, far more than that, then that gun is not sufficient. So for you to be propelled into the spiritual kingdom towards Krishna, to play with Krishna, that level of knowledge is insufficient, which it cannot take you to the spiritual level. It can only maximum take you outside this material world at the level of Brahman, not with Krishna. Hare Krishna. So now another aspect is Parikshit Maharaj is displaying a great enthusiasm here. And now how does it link with us? Okay, let's look at it. आप लोग सब लोग में कोई ऐसा है जो हिंदी पिक्चर, इंग्लिश पिक्चर वगैरह देखता है या पिक्चर मूवी देखता है? या जनरली इंडियन मूवीज आर 3 hours long, right? Okay, correct. Let's say you are in a movie hall, continuous 3 hours की मूवी चल रही है. Do you feel hungry at that time? Do you feel there is an important scene that is going on, but my hunger is so much that I cannot tolerate it now and I have to go and get something to eat? How many times has it happened?
It never happens, probably.
Generally, we do not feel hunger.
Yeah, we do not feel. Now, let's say cricket match is going on. Let's say T20 World Cup final is going on. India and Australia are playing. Last 5 overs are remaining. India has to score 60 runs in these 5 overs. A big target is there and only 5 wickets are remaining. It's a nail-biting finish. And your wife or your mother calls you, come, let's have food. What will you do? No, not now. After half an hour. Yeah, that's the standard response, right? Why do you not feel hungry when you're watching cricket in such a context or watching a movie which you have liked a lot? What is the reason behind that?
Because we are completely absorbed in it, probably.
What is completely absorbed?
Means we are really into it, we don't, our mind is always there.
The mind, right? Exactly. Our mind is fully absorbed in that event. Our mind does not realize that there is something other than the movie or other than the final at that time. So बच्चा भी आएगा खेलने के लिए तो हम लोग बोलेंगे भाई तू जा अभी, we don't want you now, right? That is our level of engrossment into that activity. So that is the level in which Maharaj Parikshit is engrossed in the words of Shukadev Goswami. And because of that concentration, he is able to understand the message as well properly. Now, people always say, yaar, Bhagavad Gita I have studied, but samajhti nahi hai. So many times I have heard the lecture, but I am not able to understand it. How will we understand? On what basis do we even expect that we will understand this one when our 90% of our mind is somewhere else? Are we able to concentrate? When we chant, when we sit in front of Radhesham and we are chanting, how many times do we actually think about Krishna? So many thoughts about our finances, our family, our job, our this, our that, keep coming to our mind. So if we cannot focus on the holy name, on Krishna, for few moments also, how do we expect us to get that level of mercy from Krishna and Guru by which we will be able to understand this knowledge? This particular knowledge, spiritual knowledge, is impossible to understand based on our mental capacity. It only is possible through the mercy of Krishna and Guru. You can print this knowledge anywhere and everywhere with all the hundreds of explanations. But a person who is not devoted to Krishna will never understand it, will never understand. It's a challenge. He will never understand this knowledge. That's why mental speculation for understanding Krishna is something which is uh, completely rejected. Hare Krishna. So let's look at the last 2-3 verses. Suta Uvacha. So now Parishit Maharaj has stopped speaking now. So Suta Goswami is speaking now. Suta Uvacha Sa Upamantrito Rajnya Kathayamiti Satpatehe Brahmarato Bhrusham Prito Vishnurate na Samsadi. Translation.
Sut Goswami said, thus Sukdev Goswami, being invited by Maharaj Parikshit to speak on topics of the Lord Shri Krishna with the devotees, was very much pleased. Srimad Bhagavatam can be legitimately discussed only among the devotees of the Lord, as the Bhagavad Gita was authoritatively discussed between Lord Krishna and Arjun, the Lord and the devotee respectively. Similarly, Bhagavatam, which is the postgraduate study of the Bhagavad Gita, can also be discussed between the scholars and devotees like Sukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj Parikshit. Otherwise, the real taste of the nectar cannot be relished. Sukdev Goswami was pleased with Maharaj Parikshit because he was not at all tired of hearing the topics of the Lord and was more and more anxious to hear them on and on with interest. Foolish interpreters unnecessarily tackle the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam when they have no access to the subject matter. There is no use in non-devotees meddling with the two topmost Vedic literatures, and therefore Shankaracharya did not touch Srimad Bhagavatam for commentation. In the commentation of the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Shankaracharya accepted Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, but later on he commented with the impersonalist view. But with being conscious of his position, he did not comment on the Bhagavatam. Srila Sukdev Goswami was protected by Lord Krishna, White Brahma Vaivarta Puran, and therefore he is known as Brahmart. And Shriman Parshik Maharaj was protected by Vishnu, and thus he is known as Vishnu Rath. As devotees of the Lord, they are always protected by the Lord. It is clear also in this connection that a Vishnu Rath should hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Brahma Rath, and no one else can because others misinterpret the transcendental knowledge and thus spoil one's valuable time.
Jai. So beautifully written. So one point is, as we talked about, that being an Amala Puran, Srimad Bhagavatam does not have any material aspect to this one. So because it does not talk about material aspect, most of the people do not get attracted to it. Yeah? Today, because people are so much attracted to material aspects, they don't have, they are not averse to spiritual aspects. Okay, but they only want those spiritual aspects which can help them fulfill their material objectives. So if I want a beautiful wife or a huge amount of money or some knowledge or some job or this or that and all that, which are all material, I will approach a pandit or somebody who can do some puja which will help me get this. Now, because these pujas are offering material benefits, they are written in Shastra which are meant for material people. And that's why the various Puran have been categorized into three: Sattva, Rajo, and Tamogun. So there are 6 Puran which are in the Tamoguni people. There are 6 Puran which are for Rajoguni people, 5 Puran for Sattva-guni people. And practically speaking, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the 18th Puran, is meant for people who are even beyond Sattva-gun, who are at the Vishuddha Sattva-gun. Because Sattva-gun, even if it is good, still it is part of the material world. It also carries drawbacks. But because these drawbacks are far, far better than the drawbacks of Rajogun and Tamogun, that's why the various Purans at least try to push people towards Sattvagun. And from where the other literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam can take over these people and push them towards Vishuddha Sattvagun. Now, because these material aspects are missing from Srimad Bhagavatam, and because material people do not get any benefit, cannot achieve their objectives from Srimad Bhagavatam, that's why they do not come closer to Srimad Bhagavatam. And which is also because Sripad Shankaracharya, when he came, he is the avatar of Mahadev, right? So he came down with a specific purpose to drive away people towards uh, impersonal worship. So to do that, he had basically certain objectives to fulfill, in which one of them was to misinterpret Shastra and present it in the manner which can drive people towards impersonalism. And which is the reason why he commented on Bhagavad Gita, but not on Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. And you may have already heard this multiple times that Bhagavad Gita is graduate level study, Bhagavatam is postgraduate, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is PhD level study. Hare Krishna. So Brahmarat and Vishnurat are the two names used for Shukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. So Vishnurat you all know, right? Because Krishna entered the womb of Uttara and he protected Parikshit there. That's why he has been called as Vishnurat even from before his birth. And Brahmarat is a kind of a big story. He was a parrot before, then he was sitting on he wanted to get this knowledge from Radharani. He was a favorite parrot of Srimati Radharani. But Radharani was upset by the separation from Krishna. That's why she wanted to go back very quickly to Krishna. But Mahadev approached her to ask for the complete knowledge. So she had given all this knowledge to Mahadev, and then the parrot asked for the same knowledge. But then she said that I have already given this knowledge to Mahadev Shankar, you approach him. So the parrot went and sat on a tree. Mahadev was explaining this to Parvati Mata. Okay? And that is where he got this knowledge. And then the whole katha is there that Shankar went to kill him and he went into the mouth of Vyasdev's wife, and then all that story is there. So that's why this whole incident is basically, he is called as Brahmarat. He is protected because of the Brahma knowledge, the complete knowledge that he received while Shankar was speaking. That's why he is called as Brahmarat. So let's look at verse 28 quickly. Praha Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Sammitam Brahmane Bhagavat Proktam Brahmakalpa Upagate. Translation.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. He began to reply to inquiries of Maharaja Parikshit by saying that science of personality of Godhead was spoken first by the Lord himself to Brahma when he was first born. Srimad Bhagavatam is the supplementary Vedic literature and it is just a pursuance of the Vedas. Srimad Bhagavatam is the science of the personality of Godhead. This impersonalist always tries to misrepresent the personal features of the Lord, not knowing the science of this great knowledge, and Srimad Bhagavatam is in pursuance of the Vedas and scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead. To learn this science, one should take shelter of the representative of Sri Sukadeva and follow in the footsteps of Maharaja Parikshit without foolishly attempting to interpret, thereby committing a great offense at the feet of the Lord. The dangerous ways of interpretations by the non-devotees class of men have played havoc in understanding the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the careful student is always alert in this matter if he at all wants to learn the science of Godhead.
Jai. So the similar point is being emphasized here again, that to touch Srimad Bhagavatam is not the cup of tea of majority of the people unless they are pure devotees. And a pure devotee does not consider Krishna as a formless version. He considers Krishna as Bhagavan. So that's why, because Srimad Bhagavatam presents the personal feature of the Lord, which is against the idea of the impersonalist. That's why they either try to ignore Srimad Bhagavatam or they try to misrepresent this Bhagavatam to the people, saying that in Bhagavatam also so and so verse has been mentioned, within that so and so word is there, and this word means this. That's why it is proven that the Lord is impersonal. So they take out certain words, they misrepresent it, misunderstand the meaning, and misrepresent it. And that's why they are causing a havoc in the society. So this problem becomes more and more obvious and creates a bigger impact when the person who is trying to obtain the knowledge is also not sufficiently intelligent to identify where they should go to get the actual knowledge. That's why Prabhupada writes that a student has to be careful, and that careful student should always remain alert in this matter if you want to learn the actual science of Krishna. Hare Krishna. Now the last verse we will take. Yad yad parikshid rushabha pandunama anupruchati anupurvyena tat sarvam akhyatumupa pachakrame. Translation.
Hare Krishna. Translation. He also prepared himself to reply to all that King Parikshit had inquired from him. Maharaja Parikshit was the best in the dynasty of the Pandus, and thus he was able to ask the right questions from the right purport. Maharaja Parikshit asked many questions, some of them very curiously to know things as they are, but it is not necessary for the master to answer them in the order of the disciples' inquiries, one after the other. But Sukadeva Goswami, experienced teacher, that he was answered all the questions in a systematic way as they were received from the chain of disciplic succession, and he answered all of them without exception. Thus, the end of Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, 8th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Questions by King Parikshit. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
So this way we finish the 8th chapter, and now Shukadev Goswami will start speaking. The first topic that he talks about is from the creation aspect, okay, which involves the sarga aspect. So there are two types of creation, sarga and visarga. Sarga is the primary creation, visarga is a secondary creation. Sarga involves creation of the elements, the fundamental elements. Visarga involves using these elements to come up with a new creation. And the example that we can give here is the mud and a pot. The pot can be considered as a secondary creation. The mud, that is earth, can be considered as a primary creation. So anything, whether it is pot or jug or spoon or vessel or whatever it is, everything that comes out of earth or created out of earth is secondary creation. And whatever components are used to create the secondary creation, they are called the primary components, primary creation, which is sarga. So sarga is created by Krishna and basically the whole Vishnu Tattva. And visarga is created by Brahma. Okay. So when the answers start, it will start from the creation aspect, from the time when Brahma was created. So what happened when Brahma was created? What happened when the navel of, I think, Karanodakshai Vishnu had a lotus sprouting out, and which had Brahma on the lotus? What happened to Brahma at that time? How did he come to know about the Lord? What did he do for that? From that point, it will start And by the time we reach the 33rd verse, we would reach the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. Chatushloki Bhagavatam, those 4 verses are very important for us to understand. It may so happen that we may take only 1 or maximum 2 verses per Saturday. It requires lot of detailed explanation. So this way we finish the 8th chapter. If there is any question, we can take. Otherwise, we will meet in the next class.
Prabhu, just now you said navel of Garbhodakshay Vishnu or Karnadakshay Vishnu?
I think it is Karnodakshay Vishnu or I think Garbhodakshay Vishnu. I am a bit unclear about it.
So, Karnadakshay Vishnu is the Mahavishnu who created the different planets and all that.
I think it
I
could
think
be
then the Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And secondly, Prabhu, we have crossed 3 years of learning Bhagavatam.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
18th September 2021 we started, and
Okay.
it is almost more than 3 years.
Excellent, excellent. And the good part is, I would like to highly appreciate, especially 4 of you, yourself, Rao Prabhu, Rakesh Prabhu, and Uday Prabhu, who have been part of the class for all the 4 years. Very nice to see that. And I would request all the others also, like Amit Prabhu, Sumati Mataji, Nehal Mataji also joins sometimes. To keep coming on a regular basis. We have a new person, new devotee, Janvi Ashok Patel. May I request you to unmute and speak a few words about you? Is this your first class? Are you attending?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, she must be my sister. Actually, I forwarded that message in my group. So
Okay.
she must have connected from
Okay.
that.
Very nice, very nice. Welcome, Mataji. Please keep coming regularly. Hare Krishna. So 3 years have elapsed. One moment. Okay. Hare Krishna. So thank you, Prabhu. We will meet next week. We'll start with the 9th chapter.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.